Welcome to Still Serving, the VFW podcast, the official podcast of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And now, from the VFW Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., here's your host, Rob Couture.
And welcome to Still Serving. I'm your host, Rob Couture. Let's go ahead with roll call. To my left, your right, Mike Figlioli, the Director of National Veteran Service.
Hello.
Hello. To his left, your right, I guess, if you're still watching the screen, is Kristina Keenan. She is the Director of National Legislative Service.
Hello.
Hello to you. And all the way at the end of the table, opposite of me, Ryan Gallucci, the Executive Director of the VFW's Washington, D.C. office and Assistant Adjutant General. Ryan, how are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. A quick question, though.
Yeah.
You know, if we're talking about the webcast on, YouTube, the video.
Sure.
If you're listening on Spotify or something like that, is it left speaker, right speaker? Do you have that kind of balance stuff?
I know what you're talking about.
Like the 1970s Queen. No, Led Zeppelin did it.
It's called phasing. And
Yes,
no,
okay.
I have not done that with the audio here. Although I challenge my post-production editor out there in Kansas City, if he would want to try that, he can feel free and go ahead. So let's go back to you, Ryan. What do we have on the agenda? There has been a lot in the news as of late.
Yeah, there has been a lot going on since we last came together to talk about what's happening in the veteran community.
Yeah,
So
I think it's probably important for people that are watching to notice, like, this is completely different space than you're in. As we had told you, we had to move out of our old space or doing some renovations. There's asbestos abatement. I don't know.
Look, the place was built in the 50s. I mean,
yeah, right. It was built.
A lot of things. It's
a lot of things.
It's historic.
It's historic.
And historic electrical wiring.
Right. And so a historic
HVAC.
A historic renovation.
Just another word for old.
Exactly, Mike. So we moved into a new space here, right about a block and a half away from where we are. I won't even say a full block, maybe. But this is it. So just kind of threw it all together here.
You can drop a pin on the map for everybody so they can see it.
Yeah,
I could determine how far away we are.
That and maybe not, because
nobody cares. Let's go.
Yeah, all right. Well, anyway, moving on. So anyway, Ryan, let's get back over to what you were saying.
Yeah, geez, what were we talking about?
What were we talking about?
All right, so look, the last time I was able to be on the podcast, we spent a lot of time in our grunt style honor the contract t-shirts talking about the Washington Post taking a swipe at veterans accessing their own benefits. Well, look, they haven't stopped. Today look, we're recording, it's Wednesday. This morning they published another story. So we're going to talk about Washington Post part 3-ish. I'll call it 3-ish because they've really published like 6 or 7 things, but 3 officially in their expose on how veterans are flooding the system with questionable claims. They're not doing that. We're going to talk about a Senate hearing last week. So the VFW testified before the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee about this subject, about the topic of whether veterans' benefits were meeting their objective. They are. And then this morning, Kristina, Rob, and I were over at the House side for a House Veterans Affairs Committee roundtable hosted by the Democratic Caucus, hosted by Ranking Member Takano, and Leader Jeffries stopped by for a little bit to talk about the same topic that's on everybody's minds.
Yep.
That's all over social media.
That's right.
We have to talk about the government shutdown. And look, Mike, I'm going to turn to you on some of this to talk about how we're filling in those gaps, especially for our accredited reps. We talked a little bit about it last time, but this is ongoing. Mm-hmm. More than a month into it, and we'll break it down. Of course, we're heading into Veterans Day. So what better time of year for the Washington Post to accuse veterans of being cheats and fraudsters than right before Veterans Day?
Yeah, right.
So, thank you for the very special Veterans Day message, Washington Post.
At least it wasn't Thanksgiving, Economist.
Yeah, the Economist chose Thanksgiving. You chose Veterans Day. I don't know. We're leading into the holiday season.
Which one's worse?
Yeah.
You're going to attack veterans' benefits.
Does someone want to take the Christmas presents out from under the tree for my family this year? I mean,
jeez.
Anyway, so we'll talk about that. And then, of course, we'll go around for the good of the order. You said I've been throwing a lot of things lately. Should I throw the whiteboard away?
I would appreciate if you dropped it. It is VFW money. You know, we don't have to buy if we don't have to buy a new one.
Jeff, for those watching, it's cardboard in the back. It's like, look, we're responsible stewards of the VFW's resources, making sure that we do this efficiently.
You're not supposed to show everyone the cardboard side of it, but okay.
We're breaking the fourth wall, Rob.
Yes. All right. Well,
B-side.
That's right. The fourth wall is you as you're joining us and watching us on YouTube. So that's a pro tip. If you want to do more than just listen and watch us be silly, I guess that's fine. Or, you know, watch us get animated. I mean, and talk about watching us get animated. Ryan, you said that the VFW testified at that Senate hearing. It was actually you that testified on behalf of the VFW. And boy, were you animated. Talk about your feelings a little bit about that.
Feelings. Okay. Look, I have very strong feelings about the accusations that veteran benefits are wasteful, that they're fraudulent. We talked a lot about that 2 episodes ago. And look, Rob, you and I have both had some conversations with reporters from the Washington Post about this series. To talk about some good, bad, and the ugly with that, you know, when we first heard from one of those reporters, we had thought, she had told us that the report was going to drop imminently. Mm-hmm. It had been 3 weeks. And I don't know if it changed some of the tone of that. Look, if they had not lumped in the VFW with the claim shark industry, I'd probably have different feelings on this. For those of you who haven't read the piece that dropped today on Wednesday, November 5th, right? Yeah, that dropped today on November 5th. They unpack some of what's happening online where people are coaching people up on veterans benefits. They talk a lot about, we call them barracks lawyers when we're talking about training veterans benefits, telling you how you can get to 100%. You just put this on your DBQ. This is what this says. So they talked about that. Then they talked about the fraud lawsuit against Veteran Guardian in North Carolina, which we've talked about on this podcast before and called a lot of attention to. And then they decided to talk about disabled American veterans and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, DAV and the VFW, and basically say, oh, well, they do it too.
Right.
They're on military bases telling people to claim their benefits.
Right. Exactly. Coaching.
What? Yeah.
Let's see, accreditation, and we don't get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
totally different.
I kind of dodged your question and talked about the Washington Post thing, but
well, I mean, because that is the crux of why they had that hearing to begin with.
Yeah,
and I think it. And yes, sure, we talked about it at length last podcast, but the thing is they keep going with this. You know, this is the fourth. This is the fourth article that's come out since the first one. They had the first one. They had one that was an op-ed piece. Then they had one after your hearing. Yes. And then we had this one that dropped today. And so
it's actually the 6th.
Okay.
So
expound on that.
The same day that the first story came out, their editorial board published another editorial. So right from the jump, they had 2 stories hitting it from both angles. Then later that week, they did that long form story about instances of egregious fraud, which, there's fraud and then there's not fraud, which we've unpacked already. Then one of the reporters, Craig Whitlock, wrote an opinion piece where he, the VFW was mean. They put the Washington Post as a firing squad. Yeah, that was the 3rd time we've had to do that.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about what you're holding up right now for the people that aren't watching.
This was a product that originally, look, I'm going to go back to 1933 here.
That is historic.
This is historic.
Yeah.
So the VFW magazine, when it was called Foreign Service, had a cartoonist, Herbert E. Lake, and he generated this first cartoon, some call this Economy, in response to the Economy Act of 1933 that cut veterans' benefits. And it showed veterans from past conflicts dating back to the Civil War in front of a firing squad. Right. Called the National Economy League and, at the time, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which was an adversary. They've come a long way.
Sure.
But now with hiring our heroes. But then in 1956, the Bradley Commission and Hoover Commissions did something similar. And you'll see there, again, past conflict
Right, they updated it.
Yeah,
by that time it was the VFW magazine.
Yes, it was then the VFW magazine 1956 model, where they were talking about some ideas that have resurfaced, cutting off service connection for 30% disabled or below.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
And then also questioning the validity of toxic exposure, which literally came up in the Senate hearing last week. Like, so old
Very
ideas
crazy.
are new again.
Wow.
So our communications team updated it for 2025
Yeah.
with The Economist, which called our benefits absurdly generous, and then The Washington Post.
I can't take credit for that one. I have to give credit to Mike Edson for putting that one together. Or what do we say? He generated it, right? But
Our friend Chad.
Our friend Chad. It's one of those things like, it's made me think like, shoot, I should get the pencils out again and start drawing, although they'll be stick figures. But anyway, I think it's important for us to remind veterans, the communities out there, and the American public really, that this happens periodically. You can't just think that there's going to be Santa Claus coming down on Christmas.
Are we going there now?
I mean, I know, but
visual aids.
You did bring visual aids. Let's cut over to you. So what visual aids did you get this time?
So I brought a visual aid that we all know and love. So in the 1930s, after the Economy Act, after the federal government did cut veterans benefits in 21 days.
Yeah.
Smedley Butler, Major General Smedley Butler, World War I Medal of Honor recipient. He was a national spokesman for the VFW at the time. And he published, Foreign Service Magazine published his Christmas message that basically said, you've got to get mad. Too many veterans still believe in Santa Claus. And, I love this cartoon. I think we've kind of rallied behind this for the last couple of years, ever since Kristina coined Honor the Contract, coming out of our discussions on what do we do about this? How do we learn from our history? So in this message in 1933, basically Smedley Butler was talking about how, veterans were too trusting that the government was going to take care of them. And veterans weren't really mad enough about it that first of all, their benefits were cut. Like, they were actually cut. We're not talking about a hypothetical. Like, the Economy Act came in and slashed veterans' benefits. And in that article, he talked a lot about, I'd get VFW Post members together to learn how to take the fight to the enemy in the way the Constitution provided. He was talking about the Second Amendment, going in and basically learning how to speak to your legislators, learning
Second Amendment? First Amendment.
First Amendment.
I think the military kind of taught us how to enact the First Amendment. But let's, I actually, if you go down by, there's another training aid, if you will. By your legs. If you wouldn't mind showing us all.
Somebody with the TASC.
This is what
I did go to TASC.
Oh my God. Hey, can I get some help here?
Yeah. Bring it down just a little bit. Let's get that quote at the top.
Oh, jeez.
I don't think we can. Maybe we'll just go with full screen. There we go. That's better.
No, we are. Okay. Is it in frame? Yeah. Be able to argue intelligently, know what you're talking about, get after these people to join, and then go after the enemy in the way that's provided in your Constitution. That is, go to the polls. First Amendment. I had it wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Thankfully, during congressional testimony, you got it right.
Okay.
So you didn't say that.
I had notes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna gingerly put that out of frame.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna throw it, Rob.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. But that was Smedley Butler's Christmas message.
Sure.
1933, and all of us at the table here, we've looked at our VFW history. Been a part of it. I mean, Kristina, you're commander of a historic post, and the like. We're all familiar with.
In that sense, it actually did meet old this time.
Yeah. A very historic post, and from the Great War.
Yeah.
And so learning a lot from our predecessors about what's happened before and what we need to be on guard for. I don't know where I was going with that. You asked about
the Rob's
hearing.
point. Rob's, we need to. The American public needs to be aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think we get so used to the deposit coming every month, right?
Oh, man.
But people don't realize or think about the fact that that's an appropriation. It's it's not a birthright or given right. It's going to be worked on, fought for. Your team works on it. We all work on it together.
Yeah.
And it's need to make sure people are mindful of the fact, as we have been trying to demonstrate.
Yes.
People are trying to take those things away.
Right.
And it's usually people that didn't wear the uniform.
Right. And let's remind everyone, as we have in hearings and everything else, this is an earned benefit. Mm-hmm. Although it comes through appropriations, we, veterans, all earn that through our service. So, I think that's interesting that they put that in quotes in this latest article. Did you see that?
No,
they
which
put
part?
Earned. That this is an earned benefit, and they put it in quotes.
Question?
Yeah, like if that's in question. Yeah.
Well, I guess they figure that, get a little pass on that one, right?
Yeah.
Do we need visual aid? Like, Mr. Figlioli, I would like to call up Exhibit 5.
I know.
Are you familiar with DD Form 4, the standard enlistment contract?
I am.
Are you familiar with...
Man, hold on, where's the bailiff? We didn't swear him in.
But I mean, like, this is, again, this as a visual aid at the hearing. And again, Al Lippert, Commander-in-Chief Al
That's
Lippert
right.
had this at his hearing last year.
Media Past Commander-in-Chief Al Lippert.
Yes. And talking about the different clauses in the enlistment contract. Look, over the weekend, I dug out my enlistment contract. I enlisted in the reserve, so I think it's DD Form 4A or 401. Which is a lot longer. It's got a lot more pages than this, but this page is exactly the same.
Oh.
And it's exactly the same as it was in 1999 when I signed it.
Interesting.
So that hasn't changed. The terms of the contract have generally not changed.
Mm-hmm.
Entitled to receive pay allowances and other benefits as provided by law and regulation.
Right. And so, well, then let's talk about this. So, according to law, so you can change the law, right?
This is true.
This is true. Change the law, and then we don't get as many benefits that we earned. So, I mean, what is it? Services free? I don't really get that. It always seems, and the great thing is the cartoons in that book are fantastic, right?
Oh yeah.
But there's
a lot we haven't even.
There's one that's like this, Wall Street fat cat, top hat. He's got the what do you call those? The meter boards on either side of his. They can have a different name for it, I think. Sandwich boards. Yeah. He's wearing sandwich boards, and on one it's like, oh, we thank you for your service and everything you've done. We'll make sure that we meet all their needs. And then on the backside, and it says when veterans come home. We can't afford that. That's too much. So interesting that is the exact same way, no matter if it is, 1945 or 2025.
These are the same type of people that bitched about after 9/11 and the things that were put in place to keep the country safe. And then you had to stand in line at TSA, but then bitch about having to do it. And then they're the first ones to say you didn't do enough. But why didn't you do enough? Right? It's the same type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want you to stand up in front of the front line of combat. I want you to do everything you have to do to protect our freedom. But hell no, we're not going to pay you when you come home. You're too expensive.
That's right.
Yeah. I really liked Senator Moran's question at the end of the hearing in the Q&A. And he confronted me, and I'm really grateful for the way the question was worded, because it really teed up something that's central to our message about honor the contract. And he asked, it's really just plain question, what do service members expect when they join? And, I was, again, the exchange was great because it allowed us to talk about, when all of us served, that we knew military service was dangerous. And especially when we have an all-volunteer force, we're volunteering because of the authentic experiences we're going to gain, because of the necessity for someone to step forward and defend our country, defend those ideals. But in the contract and in all of the discussions you have as you consider military service, your discussions with your recruiters, your discussions with your families, there's this notion that if something happens to you while you're under the control of the military will take care of it. And the VA is an extension of that commitment. I mean, there are a lot of countries around the world where your Veterans Affairs are managed by their military, by their Department of Defense.
Absolutely.
We have separated those, and for good reason. I mean, the reason is because the military is focused on war fighting, as our secretary says, but VA is then focused on everything that comes after. And, there's a reason that President Lincoln's quote is the motto of the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's what they're created for. They are the fulfillment of that contract so that the military and everyone who serves in the military can focus on warfighting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, when I was looking through some old photos, actually, Mike, you gave them over to me from National Veterans Service, like the very first training that they did for our accredited service officers that the VFW had put together with the VA. There was Omar Bradley actually standing with that first group of service officers that had come out, and it's interesting that he led that commission in 1956. But he at the time he may have still been in the military because he was in uniform in that picture, and so it fell up under the military. So it was separated for a reason. But obviously because they want to focus on the warfighting aspect. But I think that's gone back and forth for a long period of time until they finally figured it out. And VFW and other service organizations are like, no, we need a VA, or Veterans Administration back then, or Veterans Bureau and the Veterans Administration. But when you got a lot of credit online for your engagement with the senators there, and I think it was fantastic. And a lot of people are like, oh man, you got to listen to Ryan. Ryan, I would have to say, not to steal your thunder in this one, but I know that it came from a lot of hard work that came from the NLS staff as well, and helping you prep for that. You want to talk a little bit about that? Maybe Kristina, maybe throw it over to Kristina.
I will tee this up for Kristina, and because, look, it was a hell of an honor to carry forward that message. But, among the comments online or things like that, this was a concerted effort on behalf of the VFW. When the Washington Post editorial board first published an editorial critical of veterans benefits in 2023, we all got together and decided, okay, this is real, this is coming. How do we prepare for it? And a lot of us have dug through our archive. That's how we found this stuff. We've socialized it among our organization. Rob, you helped then Commander-in-Chief Tim Borland craft a response to the Washington Post editorial board at the time. Yeah. Washington Post published it, so of course no one read it, which is why we chose to self-publish this time with Carol Whitmore, Commander-in-Chief Carol Whitmore's response. But again, our whole organization, I feel, was ready for this moment. And there was a ton of research, a ton of hard work. Kristina and Mike largely prepared the written statement, and your teams helped prepare that written statement. And then you drilled me on Q&A as I was concocting the remarks. But I mean, let's talk about that a little, because in preparing that statement, you had to dig up a ton of history, a ton of background on a lot of the policies we've advocated for years.
It's true. I mean, that written statement, for the record, came from VFW testimony from the last 3 years. So stuff that the legislative team and the National Veterans Service have put together and made statements in many other hearings about how to improve the claims process and the appeals process, and how to make it user-friendly for veterans, and how to get out the word about accredited representatives and warning people about claim sharks. So, it was a substantial text that we put together, sort of jointly, our teams, but it was pointing out that we have sounded the alarm about these things so many times. And we noted in the testimony, we've spoken about claim sharks in congressional testimony 15 times in the last 2.5 years. So to say that we were prepared for this, we not only were we prepared, but we were sort of just restating, some of what we've been saying already. I mean, we were given a week's notice to prepare for this hearing. So I think we all kind of pulled together to write this, to prepare you for it, as sort of like the spokesperson of our Washington office to really give a strong message, which I think you absolutely delivered. And, I think we had to put it out there that this is not the first time that we've talked about these issues. claims assistance is sort of the bread and butter of what the VFW does and what we've been doing really since we were founded. So this wasn't. It was a scramble, I think, to get it together.
I wanted to mention that. We got the invitation midweek, and then you and I were writing on Friday and Saturday, and by Sunday we had it done.
Over the weekend.
It was like end of the day Wednesday, the invite came in, and it was due Monday.
It was due Monday afternoon. So we worked on it over the weekend. But like I said, I mean, these are things that we've stated in our Commander-in-Chief's testimony the last 2 years, in hearings specifically on these issues. We've talked about claim sharks nonstop.
You got thrown out of the press club because of it.
It's just nothing about this was new.
Just to put it in context, Ryan got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There was a lot more words. I think it came out to be 11 or 12 pages. Which goes into the official congressional record.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot more context and substance to what Ryan said.
That's right.
And Ryan had to, pair that. We've all had to do it.
Yeah.
Pare 12 pages down to 5 minutes and make sure that you get the message of the organization across in such a way that we got the reaction that we got. So kudos to Ryan, of course, to Kristina's team, to everybody. It was a scramble, got done, but I couldn't have been more proud to say we did that.
And you know what? I think what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and share where people can see the full written testimony. We'll share a link so that way, if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see it down there. Also, you can go to where we have it on our website. So we'll get to that and make sure we put that out for folks. And so, a lot of the testimony, there is the counterpoint that was given, I have to say, was infuriating by most of us veterans that were in the room. And I'm sure I'm going to go to you, Mike, because you hear these things all the time, right? As someone who you and your team are out there and you're trying to help veterans get their claim, you must hear this not only online, but from veterans themselves. They're like, oh, they don't need it, they need to get to work and they don't need to be claimed. It's not really a disability. What's your thoughts on all that and what you heard at that Senate hearing?
You hear it all the time. You're right. It's online. It's out in public. One of the things we teach in class is to counter the argument from the claimant that says, "Well, I'll leave it for somebody else that is worse off than me." Honor the contract.
Yeah,
the contract says you'll be provided for. It's our job to make sure that we get the claimant the maximum benefit by law.
Right.
I used to teach in my briefings, the VA prints plenty of money.
Yeah,
you're not taking money from somebody else.
Yeah,
it's accounted for. It's there, and it's an old and in some cases it's an old and tired argument because some people use it just to hear themselves talk and complain about benefits being too generous.
Right.
Well, I don't need that. I think I've said in the previous podcast, not everything gets better. Wine and cheese, they make it better with age.
Yeah.
But knee injuries, hip injuries, mental health injuries don't always get better with age.
That's right.
And it is meant to replace lost wages due to your disability. If you can't have the same type of employment you may have had prior to being injured, that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
It's meant to replace those things. It is an earned benefit, and it needs to be continued that way, and we still need to fight for it every chance we get. You were going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was having a conversation with a colleague who is very well-versed in veteran benefits law. And one of the things that she said in a recent conversation was, look, this is grounded in tort law. And look, your host.
If you could explain for those who have no idea what a tort is and think it might be a tart.
I'm going to say the wrong thing because I'm not an attorney, but no, a tort is basically an injury or a monetary injury. Basically, that if you're a lawsuit is basically you file a lawsuit based on a tort, and so you can't sue the military for your occupational injuries or the occupational hazards of military service, and by design and rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, the military is about good order and discipline. If you had every service member saying, well, I'm going to sue you for that because it's dangerous, well, that erodes the good order and discipline.
Sure.
You need people, and that's also in the contract right. about subject to the military justice system and required upon order to serve in combat or other hazardous situations. If you have someone saying, well, no, you can't order me to combat because I'll sue you, that erodes good order and discipline. So we've set up this benefit system to resolve those torts.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I don't think we want a military that allows service members to then sue the military for things that are
everything.
dangerous, because military service is just plain dangerous.
Yes.
And
Workman's comp, correct?
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Workers' compensation.
Workers' compensation.
Think about it like
And-
that. If you were hurt on the job, Mr. Loudmouth, that tells me that I don't need it or it's too generous.
Yeah.
But you break your leg. I know you're going to get a lawyer and you're going to file a workman's compensation claim.
Right.
So why should we not be allowed to do the same?
Yeah.
Great
Yeah,
point.
if the reporter for the Washington Post walks in the door at the Washington Post, slips and falls and breaks their wrist so they can't type out these 48 pages of nonsense, they're going to sue the Washington Post and probably Amazon so that they can be made whole.
Yeah. Well, Amazon
will send you a self-help book. You can buy it right on Amazon. How to file your own workman's comp claim and win.
Yeah, and probably some pretty
We can't
cheap,
afford it. They're taking our benefits. We've had
cheap
this
braces to hold your leg together.
But also, we talked about that in the hearing, and put it in my remarks specifically that one of the differences. So there are a lot of dangerous jobs out there.
Sure.
There are. But also there are a lot of personal injury lawyers and a lot of protections for if people are injured on the job. But there's one fundamental difference between military service and other dangerous jobs, to include police and fire and other public servants. Now, don't get me wrong; those lines of business, they have strong unions that fight for the workers' compensation and the well-being of those public servants.
Mm-hmm.
We're very much in the same vein. That's what we do. We advocate for service members and veterans for their occupational hazards. But you can't just walk away from military service. If you're an EMT, if you're a firefighter, if you're a police officer, and something horrific happens, you can walk in the next day and say, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I need to walk away. Your chief will probably try to convince you to stay.
Yeah, sure.
but you have the right to walk away. Because of this contract, you don't have the right to walk away.
Well, you can walk away. They just call it desertion.
Well, yeah,
that's
and
true.
then you're subject to the
the
military's
UCMJ.
justice system and may be tried by military courts martial.
That's right.
And given a certificate of less than honorable service, which may hurt my future job opportunities and my claim for veterans benefits. That's all in the contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fine print that's in the back page.
No, these are the major.
It's not?
These are the
Oh,
5 major
it's right up
clauses.
front.
It's right up front.
Yes.
The 5 major clauses that are in every
trying to do.
contract.
Exactly.
Thank you for teeing that one up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what else do we have on there? I mean, look, we talked at length, and people can go online if they want to watch the entire testimony, Ryan's full testimony. And, I think it led right into this next roundtable, the one that happened this morning.
Yes.
In which the Democrats had taken upon themselves to hold an additional hearing with about 14 different veteran service organizations. Mm-hmm. You sat right next to the Legion. I mean, they had a lot of other folks that were there. And get your take on what's the veteran benefit priorities and address the threats to those benefits. And so a little bit different, not televised. I think it might have been recorded. I don't know. We'll see if it is. But there's a lot of people in that room. In fact, I think there was more people sitting in the audience for this one than there was for the last one. Do you agree, Kristina?
There was a good amount of people.
Yeah.
I would say in both. The Senate hearing had we brought a lot of VFW staff there as well. That was also in the big hearing room where we do our joint hearing.
Yeah.
So a little bit different space than the House committee room, which is smaller. But lots of VSOs were there and brought some of their staff as well. So it was a packed room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so people might think, oh, you just went to this hearing and the Democrats held it and, they're just against the administration. But I think the Republicans are going to be holding their own roundtable as well.
Some of the nuances, the House of Representatives isn't in session, so the Senate was still in session, so they were able to host a hearing last week. Mm-hmm. So the House, since they're not technically in session, members can call roundtables, and so the minority did it this week. It looks like the majority is going to have something similar next week. It's just, look, House Minority Leader Jeffries, he'll host regular meetings of veterans organizations just to have kind of a quarterly pulse check on priorities and things like that. And look, legislators of both parties do that periodically.
Right.
Whip Emmer had hosted, Majority Whip Emmer had hosted one last year as well. To bring in VSOs and talk about some of these. So, but this one was, it was convened by the House Democrats to talk about whether benefits were meeting past, present, and future needs, and again, start that discussion, which was, again, these things are in some ways a bit cathartic, and that's going to sound weird to say, but look, we've had a lot, we at least at the VFW, have had a lot of this built up for a while. We see it every day. We see the challenges every day, and we're sitting here, first of all, on military bases, trying to ensure that transitioning service members are accessing the benefits that they have earned through their honorable service as per the terms of their contract.
Right.
But then also being the vocal fighters against what we see as financial exploitation and fraud.
Yeah.
And it puts us in an awkward position where sometimes not everybody is with us on either issue.
Yeah.
But we're trying to stand on our principles and on the resolutions that our members have charged us to advocate for.
Well, you bring up a good point about on military bases, our BDD teams, and that was part of today's release from the Washington Post, and where our field director for BDD, Cindy Noel, is featured in that article. And let's talk about that, because they say that, well, the VFW takes a head-to-toe approach when it comes to that. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about what they meant by the VFW taking a head-to-toe approach when it comes to claims?
It's self-explanatory. Start at the top.
I don't know.
Work your way down, right?
Yeah.
Start. Where do you think you hurt? Did you injure your head? Start ahead. Work your neck, shoulders. You ask the questions. So while you're reviewing records, right?
Yeah.
They're encouraged to bring their entire medical record with them.
Yep.
That's also head to toe, by the way.
Right.
And I don't mean head to toe as a body system. I mean front page to back. If it's 100
the
pages,
beginning of your career,
400
to the end of
pages,
your career, right?
800 pages, whatever it is. We're going to look at all that. But we're also going to ask the claimant questions, because a lot of times memories are short, barring a head injury.
Sure.
Not making a joke here, just saying it happens.
Yeah, right.
I sat down with a particular gentleman who was a 4-star general, and he had arthritis in his hand, and we worked to get that connected properly, because going through his records, he had a boxer's fracture from the boxing team at West Point, which was related to his arthritis.
Yes.
So, but he had forgotten about it. First, I forgot all about that. That's in there. Yes, sir, it's in there. And then you start going through it. So head to toe, everything, cover everything.
Right.
We don't just decide that we're going to claim it because it's in the record. If there's not enough evidence to support it, we're going to tell that veteran, looks like it's possible, but you might need additional supporting documentation.
Right.
So it's not just throwing stuff against the wall, see what sticks and gets paid. No, we don't do that. And sometimes claimant will fight you. Well, a big one, cholesterol. I got high cholesterol. VA doesn't care. It's a lab finding. It changes every time you get blood drawn.
Yeah.
Eat better, right? Yeah. You want to talk? Now, let's talk about some bullshit there. If they made cholesterol service connected, that would really be ridiculous in that case.
Yeah.
So it's a complete and comprehensive conversation about the service, putting it on paper, and submitting all that to VA to be decided and adjudicated.
Well, one of the accusations is, we're encouraging them so they can get the most out of from the VA, but it needs context, right, Ryan? Would you say the same?
Yeah, it absolutely does, and we said this in the hearing too. So in the first Washington Post story, they try to really frame for an American who has never served.
Yep, good point.
They try to frame a picture of veterans just rampantly claiming conditions that everybody deals with: eczema, skin conditions, toenail fungus. And without any of the context of, first of all, what those veterans actually receive in benefits, and then also why those conditions may be more prevalent among military service members. In the hearing, I did talk about the toenail fungus issue. And even when we had the conversations with one of the reporters, reinforced, look, it's called trench foot. And trench foot is a series of conditions. It can be fungal infections. It can be bacterial infections. It can just be skin loss and tissue loss from moisture. But it was prominent out of World War I. It still happens today. because, like I said in the hearing, foot hygiene, especially if you're in a field environment, is first of all, it's critical, but it's hard to maintain, which means that service members are more likely to develop these chronic foot conditions. And then they talked about that all of these veterans, and they gave the number of veterans that receive compensation for these minor injuries of everyday life. That's also not true. And all you have to do is look at the same report that they looked at. They pulled that data from VA's annual benefits report, which has some raw numbers in there. But when you start to look at those numbers, I pointed it out, 94% of those who receive who are service connected for a skin condition likely did not receive compensation.
Which means 0%.
So it's in the 70s that receive 0%, but when you add into the tens, it starts to, that's what brings you up to the 96%. And the reason I include the tens is, you know this, as the service director and an advocate who worked on military installations and in a VA regional office, that a 10%, depending on what else you claimed, likely doesn't affect your overall rating. When we see PACT Act claims, first of all, VA's data demonstrates that most people who filed a PACT Act claim already had service connection for something else.
Right.
There are so many tens and zeros from the PACT Act that it nominally affected their overall ratings.
Well, to say it for Joe Average, it's not going to move the needle.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So this is what's really important, I think, as someone who is relatively a novice compared to you all. When it comes to the VA rating, there's basically two things that come along with it, right? If you have a 0, let's just say you have a 0 rating. Okay, well, it's a 0 rating. It means you get no money. Yeah, okay, they may not get any compensation for whatever they're rated for. But that 0 rating says, yes, you have a condition or you have something that's associated with service when you go to a medical facility, right?
You mean a VA facility?
A VA facility,
Correct.
Thank you, that you can be seen for that condition and be treated.
Well, yes, but you wouldn't have to pay for that.
Right. You wouldn't have to pay for it. So
There would be no copay.
You're talking about two separate things, right? When it comes to that. So when people are like, they're rated for this and they're rated for that, and sleep apnea and toe fungus. Yeah, it may not be a huge rating. It may be. It doesn't matter. The point is, getting treated for that rating is first and foremost. The compensation may come, may not come, depending on the rating. Yeah. But that's, I think, what people need to understand, that these ratings are more than just the money side of things.
Definitely.
Look, and I've been forthright about it. I mean, I filed a PACT Act claim. I was diagnosed with asthma a few years back. And when the PACT Act was signed into law, I did file a claim for it. And the reason, I knew that I was going to get a 10 for it. Guess what, Washington Post? It didn't affect my overall rating. But what it did is, if another condition develops, it's documented that is service-connected. Mm-hmm. If I die from an asthma attack, my family is now entitled to certain benefits and care as a result of that. That's why you would get something service-connected, even if you know it's going to be a low rate. It's that continuity of care. Mm-hmm. And in case something goes wrong later, they talk about, we unpacked the sinusitis thing as well. One of the things we're seeing is rare cancers developing in veterans who are much younger than the general population. And they ignore that in all of this reporting that, well, why are these service connected? It's look, because they're more likely to develop in veterans and service members, you're more likely to develop skin conditions because of the uniforms you have to wear, the environments that you're serving in, the solvents and things that you use in your day-to-day job. They're all different reasons why, but they're all occupational hazards of military service. And none of their 6 stories to this point have talked about any of that.
Right. Right. And I would think it's why it's important that we're talking about this is because it goes after our motivations for seeing one of our clients, whether they're VFW member, whether they're not a VFW member, these veterans that come to us that we help with their claim, be able to get the fullest rating for everything that had happened to them. This is not necessarily about the money. First of all, we don't get any money for helping veterans. We don't. So it's 100% goes to them. So it's the motivations behind it, Kristina.
Yeah, and I think it's important to talk a little bit about transitioning service members.
Yeah.
So our service officers who are on military installations are there not only to get these folks their benefits, but so that they have access to the VA at the earliest possible moment. And that is so important because we see veterans all the time that wait 10 plus years before realizing that their conditions have gotten so bad that then they become desperate to get those benefits. Whereas when they're in service, they have their medical records in hand. We can help them get that connection to VA so that there's this seamless connection leaving the military and getting those VA benefits, whatever those benefits might be that they're entitled to. And this is a huge focus for some of our partners in Congress. Derek Van Orden, who we had on the podcast, he introduced the TAP Promotion Act because he, as a veteran, understands that when you connect people to their benefits at the earliest possible moment, you are literally reducing their risk for suicide.
Right.
It can be a lifeline, these benefits.
Right.
And there's a lot of data that backs that up. We're not just speaking in hypotheticals.
We've seen the data. We've heard from veterans who didn't have any of their benefits for a very long time and really struggled with homelessness, with joblessness, with underemployment for many years before they realized, oh my gosh, I have benefits and these would have helped me, get my footing. So it's part of it is that not just trying to, get the claims done, but getting that connection to VA early on is it can be a lifeline for a lot of people.
Healthcare, food, home loan guarantee, all those things you're exposed to. All those things are what our service officers can speak to. And some people are already aware, obviously, about the claim thing. That's usually typically where we do it. Me, I was healthcare first. I didn't file a claim for years, and my road was more difficult, but that's not for this podcast. Yeah, because it's a different conversation. But I was already aware of healthcare, and then came the home loan guarantee, then came the GI Bill. So it's not just the monthly disability compensation check. It's, as Kristina said, everything that goes along with it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a foundation, and there's even to talk about the transition assistance program during the TAP 6.0 revision. We had pushed very heavily for VA. It's like, hey, involve VSOs in this. Make sure we have a seat at the table. And the most glaring deficiency we found in it is when they're briefing on healthcare, they not once mentioned eligibility. So you're briefing transitioning service members on these are the benefits available to you. This is the full suite of benefits. But not once did they mention this is how you actually qualify, because not every person who served in the military immediately qualifies for VA healthcare. The primary mechanism is having some kind of documented service-connected condition, because again, this is about what broke while you were in the military because of the military, and how are we going to care for that afterward?
Yeah, and what makes it difficult since we're talking about TAP is what we are in the Washington, D.C. area have been experiencing for the last 35 days, and that's a shutdown, right? So with this shutdown, that has impacted a lot of things. Look, even for us going into the hearing today, we get a text message from Kristina going, oh, you might want to get here early. The line is going around the block. And Ryan and I see Ryan's like, oh, crap.
I think he sent a picture to everybody.
Yeah, he said, sent a picture.
Yes, it is. And I'm supposed to be the one talking at this thing.
But in your own defense, on the Hill, you don't always know what it is. You don't know if it's a security event or it's lack of staffing.
This is true. This is true.
And with the Supreme Court in session today with some topics that are a little sensitive, I think that may have had some overflow.
Well, I think that was the reason for the fencing being up.
Yeah, it was some road closures and the like.
Entrance might be the shutdown related.
Yeah, because I think that was.
I think
that was actually
emailed that out. That like, hey, get there early. It's like, oh well, but because of the shutdown, and
yeah. But that has been affecting a lot. Mike, I'm going to go to you, National Veteran Service folks, all out there. What are they saying? Are claims still being processed? Are all these things? When we talk about benefits, when we talk about compensation, is that still coming? Because a lot of people, as long as the shutdown goes, when we see SNAP benefits and these other ones being stopped, or and they're finding some way to pay the military, are we next with the shutdown?
In this town, you never know, right?
Yeah.
You don't know for
good
what.
point.
Benefits are still being processed.
Yep.
Payments are still being made. Then, there's carryover money that's been available
Right.
To help out. You can't go into a VA regional office right now anywhere because they're not staffed. Key personnel are in there, but electronically they are still working from home, probably without, obviously without pay.
Yeah.
Been fortunate though on our military installations with the BDD team because those aren't VA sites. Those are now Department of War.
Right.
They've been able to go into their offices and still provide the same services that we've been able to.
That's good.
So yes, slow down in that process. Sure, had to stop. No, we're going to continue to be paid. Yes, hospitals are still open.
Yeah.
You can still go to a VA hospital.
What about TAP? Are service members able to go to TAP classes?
Virtually, yes, but we've been able to, through our expertise and experience over the years on some installations, we have picked up that ball. And our VFW BDD reps have been presenting
Really? Wow.
briefings on benefits and separation benefits, which we've had to do during COVID.
It is, look, there are a lot of lessons learned out of COVID-19 and even the prior shutdown. Really, what VFW's network of accredited representatives have done is pretty remarkable. Your team worked to train our member service center so that they're accredited, so that they can speak to veterans to provide referral services. We have a regional quality assurance team. We have Board of Veterans Appeals staff who can assist, and then of course what we do on military installations. An ounce of preparation. I think this is one of those examples. And how has that process worked for NVS since we've been in this now for 30 plus days?
We were smart enough when we obviously knew this was going to happen. I think if you go into our website, we've put up some information to direct people at VFW.org.
Yeah.
With the MSCs, they were able to send out referrals to our staff. So our staff had to stop working. I think that's the other thing to add.
Great way to
right?
put it out there. Yeah.
VFW representatives are still working.
Yeah.
But we're working with the challenges of not having VA people in their buildings. You can still go see a VFW accredited representative. You can still go file a claim. We can still get that done. That is still happening.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to get in touch with us, you can go to our website.
Yes.
VFW.org. For NVS, there is a banner at the top of the homepage, splash page. It's got information on how to contact us. There's several ways there. If you can't get in touch with a representative, one of ours, the information's there. We'll get it through the mailbox, and we'll be able to get it out. So VFW itself has not stopped carrying the ball and continuing with the mission. We're just having to adjust fire, working with the status of the shutdown.
Yeah, got it. Okay, well, good. Kristina, what do you have about the shutdown?
I'll just add some of the VA education benefits are being impacted now by the shutdown. The GI Bill hotline is completely down, so anyone that has questions about their GI Bill benefits can't reach the VA through that hotline. Those who are in the queue for the VR&E program, the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program, their applications are on hold. Those staff who are the counselors that review them have been not working, and those counselors also approve people who are the courses that they're going to take who are currently in the program. So some of those folks have not been able to apply for their register for their classes for the spring. So a lot of delays around the VR&E program. And then the third thing, the DEA benefit, which is a dependents education assistance for survivors and dependents of disabled veterans, their payments have been delayed, not directly from the shutdown. There was sort of a technical glitch, but the staff that would be there to fix it are furloughed.
Right. So while people think, oh well, hey, look, it's not affecting active duty, guard, reserves. That's not necessarily true.
Correct.
Right.
But and veterans are fine. Sure. Transitioning service members are having the same issues that you were just talking about, and that is this uncertainty when you get out.
Right.
And that I know exactly what that's like because, I was going through COVID. It was just for different reasons where people weren't answering the phone. It's not because of a shutdown. It's because people were at Fort Living Room and not answering the phones. But regardless, the point is as you're trying to transition out, you're trying to not worry about things that we take for granted. So you won't want to worry about things you take for granted, like signing up for college classes and making sure you get those educational benefits. And hey, what am I missing at TAP? And hey, this, that, and the other. So, okay, yeah, it's great that the VFW is being able to do that. At least we can help them with getting their claim sent forward. Processing might be a little slower,
correct?
But it's still difficult. So people, if you're out there watching, you're listening, and you think the government shutdown, oh, that doesn't affect our service members.
I mean, if you're a disabled veteran using VRE and you can't sign up for your classes for the spring, you don't know what you're going to do for the spring.
Right.
I mean, are you going to get the assistance that you need? You're already having barriers to employment. So what are you thinking right now? What's the stress and anxiety that you're going through right now?
Right.
And you're already in a vulnerable position. To not have these benefits happen regularly or prioritized even during a shutdown, it can cause a lot of stress and anxiety. And
then the follow-on, right? When they go back, now you've got excess workloads, and applications, and the rest of it. So, it's there. I mean, like I said, it some of them will be slow, some will be late, but at least we can still get the paperwork in for them. Right. That can be acted on once the appropriations come through.
Well, and the longer this goes on, I mean, no one is immune from it. We do our best because of things like advance appropriations. The hospitals are open, claims are being processed. But even, Defense POWMA accounting agency published on their social media that they've canceled their joint field activities through the remainder of the year in Southeast Asia. That's a big deal for families who are looking for closure. It's a much smaller deal, but the VFW, we do our routine visits to service members overseas to get a pulse of the force. Our Senior Vice Commander-in-Chief, Corey Geisler, and Junior Vice Commander-in-Chief, Glenn Umberger, were scheduled to visit NATO, EUCOM, and AFRICOM here leading up to just in the weeks before Thanksgiving. That had to be scrapped. And we glean a lot of information from that. I mean, it's how we started championing the VA Foreign Medical Program. It's how we started championing issues of access to care for active duty service members who are overseas. It's how we champion transportation issues for service members overseas, or the unique challenges of overseas service. That's who we speak for. But we go overseas to do these pulse checks with commands and even with our comrades who are still serving in posts overseas to better understand the scope of today's mission and communicate that back. That's not going to happen now until at least 2026.
Yeah. Dang.
So we've lost a key opportunity.
That is concerning. And also for when we talk about national cemeteries, one of the things that they just can't do right now is like putting, I think it was like veteran markers.
Installing new markers.
Installing new markers.
Grounds maintenance and other things aren't being done.
Yeah. These are all challenges. And it's important for our government to get going, especially with regard to our active duty and guard service members, their families, and our veterans. And so we need them to come up with some solution and get this government back open. So, all right, what do we got next, Ryan?
All right.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day.
On to Veterans
Day. With all of the wonderful things we've talked about so far, veterans exploiting benefits and the shutdown and no joint field activities for DPAA or visits to the troops.
But now on to the good news.
Yeah. Veterans Day. This Veterans Day.
Well, I mean, are there still discounts being given? I mean, obviously, that's up to businesses out there. Can you get?
I hope so. Buffalo Wild Wings might be busier than ever here.
Can you get your free
McCormick
wings?
and Schmick?
Yeah.
But with that, Veterans Day, Commander-in-Chief Carol Whitmore is coming to town here in Washington, D.C. to participate in the National Veterans Day commemoration at Arlington National Cemetery and at some of the memorials around Washington, D.C. But we have a little bit more going on for Veterans Day this year. And I'm going to pose a question to you, Rob.
Sure.
We're supporting a peer organization.
Here we are. The Allied Forces Foundation.
And what they have going on in Washington, D.C. So can you tell us a little bit more about
Yeah, since you've been asking me via email. Hey, Rob, can you have more information? So,
I didn't say that. I'm
That's okay.
teeing you up for a
Brittany
podcast.
and hey, I am remiss in not mentioning why. So Brittany's a little under the weather, and so she wasn't able to join us for today. So get well,
Feel
Brittany.
better.
Yeah, feel better. So that's why she's not on. But last week when we had Kelly Brown from the Allied Forces Foundation talk about this, what's called the Warrior Yomp. And that is going on from the 8th to the 9th. So bib pickups on the 7th. And then they're going to start in Old Town Alexandria and then go for 50 miles.
What does YOMP stand for?
YOMP is your own march. Wait a minute, YOMP. Your own march.
Come on, you're almost there.
I know, I'm almost there. Pace. Your own march pace. If I said marching, it probably would have come out better. But I think I was corrected and say your own march pace. So that's a UK military kind of term. I guess it came out of the Falklands when people started hearing that, and the Falklands War a long time ago. Yep. And so they use this term, and it's for to help wounded, ill, and injured veterans, not only U.S. but UK and our NATO partners. And there's a lot of people that come from overseas to participate in that. The normal
Anzac.
one, yeah, the one that normally comes, the YOMP that normally goes on is in Scotland, and so this one is developed just here for the DC area, and so they're going to be going around Washington DC. A lot flatter than Scotland, I will tell you that much.
Now, Rob, how do you know that it's flatter than Scotland?
Well, I've been there twice for this exact reason, not for anything else. And
So you have yomped?
I have yomped. Through the Highlands. I was in a little bit better shape back then. But it was.
Did you see the Queen?
I went to Buckingham Palace afterwards because I was in the Joint Staff and we were visiting. We had to go and visit like the Royal Marines and visit the Royal Guard that's there at Buckingham Palace. And
Did they salute like this?
they did salute like that,
they have
and
tea?
did the whole feat. And we swung by the Chelsea pensioners. If you guys don't know what that is, that is the actual Armed Forces retirement home that's there in London. So that was a really cool visit. But yeah, so I've done that. So if people want to find out about it, you can go online and look for Warrior Yomp, YOMP, or go to the last episode and learn a little bit more. So that's also what's going on here in Veterans Day. The shutdown is, it's also, are they canceling the service at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial?
As of a couple days ago, it was back on.
Sounds like it's back on.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So
We have Arlington, we have the wall.
yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
national. Any news on the national ceremony that's going on at Arlington?
It looks like it's full speed ahead. We're going to still honor our veterans.
Good.
Even during the government shutdown.
Yeah, good. Well, at least our
which
government's
will
still
be-
honoring our veterans.
And I think Jeff Wisniewski.
I'm sure the Washington Post will have something terrible to say.
Oh
about it.
yeah, another article will be dropped, and it'll
Maybe they
be
can wait for Veterans Day to talk about.
yeah. Yeah.
And then Jeff will be over at the Korean War Veterans Memorial.
Oh, laying a wreath on behalf of the VFW. Good for him. That's really great. Okay, so I think we're at the good of the order. I know we're past an hour now. So what do you have? Let's go with Ryan. What do you have?
All right. So for the good of the order, I mean, I figured I'd filibuster for the next 40 minutes more about the Washington Post and why they upset me. No, I'm kidding. I think we've talked about that a lot. But two things. First, I want to thank everybody at this table, but then also everybody listening or anybody following online or viewing these clips for all the engagement on that hearing last week and on this larger issue. It's heartwarming to see veterans starting to engage on it in the sense that Smedley Butler was talking about, that, look, we have to defend these rights and benefits. In the contract, yes, we're entitled to them, but again, Congress can change laws at any time, and they've done it before. So I want to thank everyone for the engagement and for joining us in this effort. And Kristina coined Honor the Contract last year, but it's really resonated with VFW members, and we've carried that forward. So first of all, thank you for helping to contextualize what we're talking about. And Rob talking about the warranty on the all-volunteer contract.
Yeah.
I mean, we've really coalesced around this notion that somebody needs to defend this, and we're somebody, and we're going to defend this. Your team put out a ton of content to engage our legislative committee, and even before our communications team got a hold of it, it was all over social media already because our members cared about this and they wanted to be engaged on it. And so it was really, I just want to thank everybody for that. And we're going to keep our foot on the gas pedal, and we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about the Army-Navy game.
Oh, okay. Feel free.
So Army-Navy is coming up again.
Yeah.
It's again in our national capital region here. It's going to be in Baltimore this time.
Yeah.
Right down the road.
Baltimore.
And we're again supporting the Travis Manion Foundation tailgate. They were great hosts last year. It's an absolute awesome event. Food, beverages, bands, everything, just to celebrate service before the Army-Navy game. If you want to attend that, there is a discount code right now, VFW 10. It's on our social media pages if you want to join us. VFW will be out there along with a lot of other partner organizations and, of course, Travis Manion Foundation. And so really looking forward to the Army-Navy game this year.
All right.
Once again in our backyard.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Army-Navy game. I'll make sure I write that in the calendar. I think I'm going to be there anyway. I better be. I don't know. What do I got planned?
Rob, bad news. You're working.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes, I'm
Good
working.
news, it's the Army-Navy game.
Yeah, exactly.
Good news and some bad news.
Go to the order. Kristina, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, from the legislative team, I mean, even through the shutdown, I would say we're busier than ever.
Yeah.
We've got 3 more hearings that were postponed that I hope and expect to come back up on the calendar in November. So, stay tuned. Follow us through the VFW Action Corps. We're going to be talking about lots of legislation, some different issues on VA prescribing, things like that. But we've got more in the queue for November, and really trying to work with the condensed calendar that we're likely going to be faced with to try to get some bills passed by the end of the year. So come on that.
So quick question, point of clarity, I guess. So Congress they had a roundtable today, but they weren't in session, were they? No.
The House was not.
The House is not in session.
Correct.
And where have they been? Don't know. They
Doing district work
I don't.
They're doing district work,
No.
right? So they haven't been here in Washington, D.C. trying to
in September.
work on opening up the government, but they get paid, don't they?
They do.
They do. Fascinating how that works. Okay, Mike, go to the order. What do you got?
Hey, just a quick shout out to the BDD team for this week. They're having this seminar. So they're together as a team, learning, training, getting some information. Cindy Noel leads that team. She does
That's
it very
right.
well. So I wanted to give them a shout out for all their good work, not just in the seminar, but what they always do for veterans. They're the front-facing point for a lot of people,
That's
not
right.
just for VA benefits, but for the organization. And you couldn't have a better, more professional program director than Cindy Noel.
That's right.
So despite what the Washington Post says,
Yeah.
Cindy Noel
Amazing.
is cream of the crop, tells it like it is, ethical, moral, and it's a shame that got lumped into that, but I just want them to know that we have their collective backs.
Can I jump
love
in there
that.
real
Yeah,
quick?
please do.
Yeah, I feel I'm really glad you brought that up, because we'll defend our BDD team to the ends of the earth, and that we've seen it time and time again. And VA data, when they did a TAP review a few years ago, the Veterans Experience Office went out to some of our sites. We know that what they do saves lives, and that's not hyperbole, but it's starkly missing from the Washington Post's shoddy reporting.
Yeah.
And we will defend them to the ends of the earth. That program, their integrity as advocates, and Mike, thank you for bringing it up. Cindy, we love you. We support you.
Yeah.
We got your back. And 1.5 million members of the VFW and our auxiliary got your back. And all the 600,000 veterans and family members that we represent got your back. And we're going to keep doing this.
And I think what's really great, that, by the way, those quotes from Cindy were from last year. We opened up our doors, so to speak, to the Washington Post to come and see what it looks like to do a claims process and the BDD process with integrity.
Yes.
And that's why we chose Cindy Noel, because we know what type of person she is. And she's no nonsense, but she's encouraging to those service members that are getting out, and they can cling to a little bit of hope because of a Cindy Noel. Not because she's promising 100%, because she's not, but because she knows how the system works. And she says, here, put all these things in and let the VA do its job.
Yeah, one more on that. During COVID-19, and this was before she was in a leadership, a program management position. You don't need a title to be a leader. She's always been a leader.
Yeah.
So when she was responsible for Camp Lejeune as the VFW's BDD claims representative, when all of those tap reefers were furloughed during COVID-19, she took it upon herself to find a way to develop virtual briefings. And I got to sit in on one, and she was so on point and matter of fact with helping Marines understand, helping the Marines that she was committed to serve understand this complex process at a time when a lot of other people walked away from that work.
Yeah.
So she stepped forward and said, someone needs to do this. I'm going to do it. Anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why she is the leader that she is.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, hey, look, for me, for the good of the order, I don't really have anything other than we'll continue to...
Alibi.
Alibi. One alibi fire. Alibi fires only.
Happy birthday to the Marine Corps, because you'll see it after this.
You know what? I don't think we're going to have a problem with the Marine Corps not telling anybody about their birthday. So,
but they didn't hear from us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, happy birthday,
Happy birthday, Marine Corps.
Semper Fi out there.
Carry on.
And when it comes to the VFW, we are still serving. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Still Serving, the VFW podcast. To get the latest news and information from the veterans of foreign wars, make sure to follow, like, and subscribe to us on social media at VFW HQ, on Facebook at VFW Fans, or visit our website at vfw.org.